Hello again, and it's time for another project. Just a nice fun project today, nothing too technical I want to said. Basically all I want to do is just use up these scrap pieces of plywood. Now the way I've transferred my image today, there's our nice big cheeseburger there, and we've got the bread bun itself, ketchup, lettuce, cheese, burger, tomatoes, lettuce, cheese, and the bottom of the burger there, bun should I say. So we'll be interested to see what it's like when it's all put together. Now normally you would use painter's tape, and you can line your plywood, spray on your glue, and basically stick that down. Because I wanted to extend the backer slightly, and we've altered things just a little bit to fit in, I've gone for the good old carbon and trace. Literally carbon paper or graphite paper, and you pop that underneath there, and that's allowed me to draw so many pieces on that one until that was basically full. And then we moved on to the next piece, and we cut out, or should I say we drew the remaining pieces on there from our template. I'll just grab that quickly, come here. As you can see from that, and the backer board, same again, we just popped that on there, and instead of going round the black section, I went round the white section there, just to make it slightly wider. And that's on 12mm plywood. It's a bit over the top, but this is basically just the scrap pieces I have lying around. And the top section is 5.5mm plywood. 3.6 would have been a lot better, but we haven't got any scrap 3.6. So there's all our bits, all nicely done. These here are just literally three-handed do's. Well, you would do, they're not too technical, are they? And they will be our little bits that we shall pop on the bun afterwards, should we feel the need to. So there's all our bits ready to cut out. As always for me, on my previous videos, I do like to use what they call a spiral blade. Now spiral blade, the teeth spiral the full length of the blade. Unfortunately with my old Draper scroll saw, I have to use these adapter clamps at the top and the bottom, because my saw only takes pin blade. Spirals are pinless. Your next blade obviously is your pin blade. They come on your more basic saws, and they just clip top and bottom. Remember with your blades, they want to feel smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know you have them in the right way. Should you have them in the wrong way, they will still cut to a certain extent, but you'll find the wood will be lifting each time, and all the sawdust will be getting pushed to the top. So you'll soon know when your blade's in the wrong way. And the other blade is a pinless blade. Your more professional guys use these all the time. Fantastic work you can do with these ones. For me personally though, I do prefer the Pegas number 3 spiral blade today. So there's no inner cuts. Inner cuts are basically where, if you had a section that we're going to cut out the middle of this, we would have to drill a pilot hole, put our blade inside, and cut out that little area inside. But these are all outer cuts, so we certainly have no issues today. And any of the three blades we've mentioned will cut this out, no problem. Another good thing with carbon and tracing, we can keep our original image, and as we cut each section out, we can literally just pop it on top of there, and we'll have a rough idea what it's looking like towards the end of the project. Right, obviously once we've cut it all out, we'll get some nice paints out, paint it all, and it will look totally different again with all those lovely colours. But for now, we're popping our Pegas number 3 spiral blade into this scroll saw and just start cutting out all the top sections. Right, so we've got our Pegas number 3 spiral blade in the scroll saw itself. Notice here my little adapter clamps at top and bottom. They are a little bit of a pain sometimes if you're doing larger projects. So if you want to go out and purchase a scroll saw, definitely get one that takes pinless blades, and there will just be a little clip at the top, and it takes a matter of seconds to unclip it and clip it. Obviously they all have what they call tensioners somewhere on the top. Mine's right at the back of the saw, and you will take up the tension on the saw until you get a nice ping ping sound like so. That way you know your blade is ready to cut. You get a little airline, there's a little bellow at the top of this, and as the saw is working, that will just blow air down there and basically try and keep it a little bit clearer. Now you notice with my old Draper here, I've got quite a large hole there. That pops out, and you can just replace it with another one unfortunately I don't have one. So for me, with smaller projects, there is quite a lot of small holes. You can just see those here. As we're cutting these out, they tend to fall down there. So I will literally just put a bit of tape on just to sort that out. I did have somebody asking a comment, why have I put the tape on there, folks? So that is that reason. And it will just be a simple case of basically making this a little bit smaller. It doesn't matter on your bigger pieces, but on something like this, it just saves me rummaging around on the floor trying to look for those smaller pieces. So that's the only reason why we put the tape on there. Okay, right, we are ready to go. Let's get our 5.5mm plywood under the blade there, and we'll start cutting this one out. Right, so there's our first little piece nicely cut out. You will find with those spiral blades, you do get what they call little fuzzies on the back there. That's the only downside to those. But it takes a matter of seconds like that, and they are all gone. You notice there, I just like to mark the back of my pieces, just a bit of a scribble, just so when we come to put it all together, we're not deciding which is the front and which is the back. Right, there's our first one. Let's cut out the rest. Right, so we've cut out all the top section, and we've also managed to do our little seeds that fit on the top there. They're probably a little bit high at the moment, but we will be sanding these down and rounding all the shape off. And as we've gone along with that same sandpaper, I've just removed the little fuzzies off the back. I will play with the top section more, obviously. We just want to round this off. Be careful with your plywoods. There are different layers, 1, 2, 3 on this one. There's only 3.6, and as you're sanding down, the different coloured layers will come in between. But we are going to paint this nicely painted, should I say. So colour wise, any sanding off or anything like that won't affect us. Right, so there's our top section. So obviously we've got to fit it to a backer, and there's our backer ready to cut out. We'll cut that out next. It is on 12mm plywood. Probably a little bit chunky for this little project, but I'm just using basically scrap wood up, so no need to go and look for any more. Right, let's just cut out the backer first. Right, so we've cut out the backer board with that Pegas number 3 spiral blade. I must get used to saying number 3. I haven't ever used 5 on all my previous videos. So that's cut out nicely. We still have those little fluffies on the back there. I don't know if you can just about see those. They're really nothing to get carried away with. But literally like that, all the way around the piece, and you're nicely cleared up. So a little bit of sanding now. We're going to sand all this. We just want to round these edges off slightly. On one of these pieces, I've already done the sanding just to show you, so you can see there, look. And if you remember, I mentioned about the different colours. You might just see it, I don't know. See that yellow there? That's just as you're sanding down the plywood itself, and you're taking off that top level. That's not going to affect us as we are going to paint all these. So we rounded them off just slightly enough, and obviously that would be our first piece to fit on there, like so. And then we'll move on to the next section and basically do exactly the same. So we get rid of all our little fluffies, and then we're going to round this off. You should always be able to see your pencil line. When you're scroll sawing, we don't scroll saw on the line, we just up to it, if that makes sense. But a bit of sandpaper, we'll soon clear that off, like so. And then we'll move on to the next piece and next piece. So general tidy up first, and then we'll look into the painting side of things. Right, that's enough tidying up for me and general shaping. You'll notice here with the burger right at the end, you might just be able to see that. We've gone for like a speckle effect, just give it texture of meat. The rest of it, regarding the cheese, the lettuce and tomatoes, they'll be quite smooth. So once that's painted, hopefully that will look a little bit better. And for that, just a simple round board engraving bit on the end of my Dremel there, doing the tap 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 effect as I call it. So that's it. There's all our bits all cut out. We've shaped them all down. I lowered these little seeds on the top, literally got a Stanley knife and split those and managed to make a couple of extra ones here. So that's all ready for painting now. So the backer itself, the 12mm plywood, this tin is back again. This keeps popping up, and I think there's still enough left in there for the backer. And the rest of it, I would normally use Painter's Touch paints the same, but I'm going to go for acrylics on this one. It's a little indoor piece, and we have plenty of acrylic paints to go with. Just have a little bit of water with those. We will have to maybe go over a couple of times just to make it bond better to the wood, shall we say, or paint better. So let's go back indoors and start painting this one up. Once it's all been nicely painted, you know that varnish is going to come out, and we'll spray it all and then basically just glue it all together, and we'll see what we've got. Right, there's all our bits nicely painted. Just a standard black for the backer itself there. Remember, 12mm plywood for that one. Now the way I paint these smaller sections is literally get a strip of tape. I mean, you could use double-sided tape, strip of masking tape, a little piece at either end, and stick your pieces to it. The likes of all the seeds here for the top. Just stick them down, and you can happily paint those while they're applied to that bit of tape, and that just holds them all in place, and they'll just peel off afterwards. Just makes life a lot easier than trying to hold them in your fingers. And the same with those there. Now these look quite dull at the moment. They are just acrylic paints, so you know what's coming next. I do like a bit of shine. Now you have the options of gluing this to the backer board, as a finished item and then just spray your varnish on top. I tend to spray before or after, only because they are nicely secured like that. So 151 varnish, we're just going to come straight in. These will darken these colours down nicely. We'll start off in here and then we'll go outside. Then we'll want 3 or 4 coats of this on, just to give it a nice enough shine. Right, we'll go outside and do the rest. Right, so we've sprayed our varnish on. I apologise for the sun coming through the blind there. Probably not giving you the best picture, but I'm sure once it's all finished, it should look a lot better. And you can see from that, it's got a nice shine there. Look at that 151 spray. And the same with all our bits over here. Just see from there, look, just a nice shine to them all. So that's just another way of painting and spraying your bits. So now it's just going to be a simple case of picking these off here. They should come off fairly easy, like so. And there's one of our little pieces, and obviously we'll have to work out eventually where it goes, and the same with the rest of them. And some of these colours would really pop out nicely. Just pop that off there. I'm trying to do this one-handed. Get that yellow against that black, like so, and hopefully that should all stand out nicely once it's all glued together. And the glue for this one, just a 151 super glue. And on the larger pieces, I said in my previous video, I don't know why, but I do like to use, I'll just get that off there, balance. I tend to put a dab of the wood glue on and a dab of the super glue, dab 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 all the way around, and that just helps you a couple extra seconds to put it in position. Obviously that would be the top of the bun there. Okay, we'll glue it all together. We've already got our spray varnish on, so this project will be done once it's all been glued down. Right, so there's the last piece to stick down. Like I say, I do like to use both glues, but there probably isn't any need for it. And I'll just dab a little bit on like that. Of that one, and the same with this one. Be careful with your super glues. This one comes out quite fast, so you've got to be a bit careful. Make sure I get right to the edges there. There'll be the bits that's going to catch. For sure. Okay. And then it's just a case of putting it in place. We don't be too precise for this one, because it is just one of those projects where spacing wise, it's not really that important, as you can see, looking at the remainder of it. We'll stick that down like so. And that's it. We'll head back down to the shed and this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So we cut out the top section on 5.5mm plywood, and the bottom section was 12mm plywood. This was just scrap wood. If I had 3.6, I would have cut it out on 3.6. And we've got our little seeds on top there, you can see, and that's it. Nice oversized cheeseburger, and it comes in at 8 inches across by 7 inches high. Now remember, we cut it out on a pegas, with a pegas spiral blade, pegas number 3. That's just my choice of blade. Any blade would have cut this out, no problem whatsoever. And then we came in with the painter's touch, just for the backer board, and just cheap acrylic paints. They paint quite nice, to be honest. You will have to go over it 2 or 3 times with certain colours. Yellow seems to be the worst one on today's project. Red's not a problem. I don't think the green was too much of an issue either. And then we sprayed it first, if I remember rightly. You can obviously stick this down and then spray it all afterwards. I just prefer to spray first. That just allows a bit of varnish to get into those tighter gaps. And obviously, good old 151 for that. And then for gluing down, any super glue would do personally. I'm just using 151 again, and I throw in a bit of that. Does it need that? Personally, I don't think it does, but I've got it, so I will use it. And that's it. We are done. Cheeseburger cut out on plywood with a Pegas No. 3 spiral blade, and then we painted it all with acrylic paints. Thank you very much for watching.